So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, it's for me a great pleasure that I have the opportunity to say opening words for this Friday morning. I hope that you have had a very good Thursday night. I have a speech on behalf of Finnish Parliament and its Committee for Agriculture. I say a few words of Nordic salmon, its history, traditions, changes, problems, and solutions. Nordic sea salmon has for ages been the icon, and we might say the king for migration fish. For decades and even centuries, salmon has been a very important species for the fisheries in the Baltic, and especially in the northern rivers. I myself am living in Tornio Valley, just by the river Tornio-Muonio. One of the main reasons why my ancestors settled down the place where I am and my family still are living was salmon. Salmon has unbelievable big role in the history of Lapland. The whole Lapland has been the kingdom of salmon. Sadly, over 50 years, the populations of Baltic salmon have been declining in nearly all of its original range. Over time, many stocks have been lost due to pollution and blocking of rivers by dams, mainly for hydropower plants. Overfishing has also taken place, but still there are some salmon rivers left. Best and biggest rivers in the north. We must remember that Tornio-Muonio River produces approximately 50% of the Baltic Sea salmon, and this salmon is wild salmon. Wild salmon should be allowed to return to the natal rivers. All hydropower plants should be provided with effective fish passage and fish guidance system during downstream migration. We need less stocking of artificially produced salmon and more fish passages and habitat restoration. The Baltic salmon stocks are at present exposed to fishing in both open sea, coastal waters and in rivers. Wild Baltic salmon are highly valued as a game fish and for the table. Fishing of salmon in high seas is very harmful to salmon stocks in the Baltic Sea. The offshore fishery in the main basin catches all weak salmon stocks on their feeding migration. The opportunity to employ long line fishing, which is mixed fishery. In early winter in the southern Baltic, which was introduced in connection with banning drift net fishing, this was a mistake. We should give up salmon fishing in high seas and actively promote the ban of high seas fishing throughout the Baltic Sea. Salmon management should be targeted in the future on the assessments of the status of individual stocks in the rivers. Fisheries on mixed salmon stocks that cannot direct fishing only to those stocks that are close to or above their targets, present particular threats, and effort in such fisheries should be reduced. We must remember that fisheries in open sea areas are more likely to pose these problems than fisheries in coasts, estuary areas and rivers. Regulations is of course needed everywhere to secure sustainable fishing. Precautionary approach to salmon management must be introduced better. But only in the rivers and estuary areas salmon fishing can be regulated in accordance with the status of each salmon stock. In most cases, sport fishing is more easily managed than commercial fishing. The economic value of sport fishing can also be many times higher than market value of commercial salmon. For example, in Tornio River, there are huge possibilities in fishing, tourism and sustainable growth. Last year was the value of recreational or tourism fishing in Tornio River €4.5 million. At the same time, the whole value of the commercial fishing of Baltic Sea salmon was only half of that. Only half of that. Migrating salmon is a natural resource which enjoys a special position under the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. The principle of the spawning country of the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea should be followed. And I read you now a part of this Article 66. States in whose rivers anadromous stocks originate shall have the primary interest in and responsibility for such stocks. The states of origin may, after consultations with the other states, establish total allowable catches for stocks originating in its rivers. Despite that the European Union has not changed its producer in the Baltic Sea, in the EU and in its new organ called bulkfish, the principles governing the regulation of the fishing of migratory fish stocks should be implemented better in future in accordance with the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea. The future Baltic salmon is bright. If we make right changes to really secure the life cycle of Baltic salmon better than today, we must let salmon return to the stream in which it was before, and it was before. Thank you.